All right. Hey, everyone. Ryan from eBike Escape. And today I am really excited with my special guest. Today we have Hushman Morefi. He is the president of eBikes USA. And one of the reasons that I wanted to bring him on is because I think he is running a very interesting electric bike business over in Denver. So he's going to walk us through kind of how the business started, some of the changes related to electric bikes as of late, talk about how the business is evolving. So I'm really excited to delve into some of those things here. With that, Hushman, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Hi, Ryan. Hope you're doing well. I've been watching your podcast and YouTube videos for a while, and I enjoyed your work. So it's really a pleasure to be here with you and talk about something we're both very passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe let's jump right into things. Maybe why don't you give us a little bit on background in business and how you discovered electric bikes, and then kind of work that into how you started eBikes USA?
You bet. So I have a very interesting background. I started, I was a technologist working in technology companies for 30 plus years. And in 2015, I stumbled on Sondor's Indiegogo campaign for their very first bike. It was advertised as a $500 electric bike. And I rolled the dice. I had never ridden an electric bike. I was always a cyclist. I enjoyed bicycling, but I didn't know anything about electric bikes. Lo and behold, the bike arrives, 6-7 months later. I liked it. I enjoyed it. And it surprised me how much I enjoyed it. I started using it for commuting to work, and suddenly I rediscovered the love of cycling after all these years. My buddy and I, who also happened to have one of these, we decided to take these two bikes to the top of Mount Evans, just like we used to on our road bikes. Let's just say I burned my motor. And that's when you realize, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. This bike wasn't meant for that, or it didn't have the power and the battery and all that to accomplish that. So I'm one of those people, being an engineer, I'm one of those people that when I do something like that, I don't make it somebody else's problem. I try to resolve my own issue. So I started researching how electric bikes work and what components do I need to fix it. And lo and behold, not only I learned how to fix it, but I also learned how to make it better, more powerful, longer range, more power, and so forth. And that really kickstarted my fascination with electric bikes and what I can do with them. I consider myself an adventure rider, so I want to be able to go do Mount Evans, Pikes Peak, without training for 9 months, but I got to have the right equipment to do it with. So along the way, one bike led to 3 bikes, 3 bikes became 10 bikes, and that's when you realize you have a problem. Maybe you should do something about it. In 2019, I decided that I was done with my corporate life. I left that life behind. I bought a small business here in Denver, immediately rebranded it to eBikes USA, and we relocated it to a very nice showroom in Denver, Colorado, in Denver's Cherry Creek. And that's when COVID happened. And COVID, it created a lot of challenges for us, but it also helped fuel our growth very rapidly. Suddenly, everyone else is discovering electric bikes and the joy of riding and so forth. However, I'm proud of, with all that said, I am extremely proud of what we have been able to accomplish, my team and I, in the past 18, 19 months. But it was clear from early on, based on my own experience, when my bike died and no one was willing to work on it, that I wanted it to do my business differently. And that led to who we are and how we do things at eBikes USA.
Yeah, and we're going to get into some of those things, which is why I really wanted to talk to you, because this whole problem with people purchasing electric bikes and not necessarily having somewhere to get them serviced. I feel like you're solving a lot of those pain points that I personally see, and have to help educate people who are looking to purchase bikes, always with caveats, if you can't assemble it yourself, or if you have an issue, or if it's a new company, some of those things. So that's very important things, I think, to focus on for someone, creating an electric bike business, being able to kind of both sell and service them. So
right.
let's talk a little bit about your strategy, kind of your thinking as you went into building this business. And I know that has evolved a little bit, so we can talk about kind of the early days and where you're pivoting.
Sure. So early on, I decided that I'm not going to turn anyone away. I'm going to help as many people as they come through the door, regardless of where they bought their bikes. If they bought their bikes from me, thank you. I appreciate it. If you didn't buy it from me, you didn't buy the bike from me, thank you for being here. We will do our best to help you. And it served us well because because of my background within the Sondors community, I had immediately the people with Sondors in Denver area that as soon as they heard that I opened a store, they came to us. Pretty soon, I started noticing people with Rat Power bikes showing up, Juice bikes showing up, and a few other brands early on. So we took advantage of it, and that got promoted on our own Facebook group. It got promoted on YouTube, and it also got promoted in other groups. And the word of mouth, hey, there's a shop in Denver that can fix the bike. They won't turn you away. So that helped our fuel our growth. It also did something else. When I bought the business, a lot of the traditional bicycle companies didn't know who I was. And this was also at the time, suddenly demand just skyrocketed. They didn't have enough bikes. So it was difficult for me to secure traditional brands to buy from. So one of the things I did was I went to the direct to consumer brands and I started buying bicycles from them. Some of them I was paying the same price as you would be paying the online price and pay the shipping to get them here. But I had to come up with a model to say, what is the value add that we're providing for these customers? Add on to the price. And we weren't hiding it. We were very transparent. We would show the online price, we would show the ship deliver price, and we would show our price, and then we would say, this is what you're going to get. Every bike that we would sell comes with obviously assembly, professional assembly. It comes with a first tune-up, but most importantly, it comes with the warranty services to us. As a result of that, we could show that if you're paying us $200 more or $300 more, this is what you're getting for it. It also helped fuel direct-to-consumer brands' interest in being in our store because they've been looking for partners to service their bikes. They started giving us a small discounts to make this model work. It is not a foolproof model, but it has worked well for us. We have sold quite a few bikes, and along the way, we also picked up traditional brands that want to be in a store like us and the way we do things. Our focus has always been on customer service, customer focus, and most importantly, the experience the customer wants to have. We're not a bike shop. That was one of the things I said from beginning. We're not a bike shop. We're not a bike shop. We're not a bike shop. Everyone that thinks about a bike shop from a traditional sense, when they walk into our store, they have a completely different experience. And that's what helped fuel our growth and shape our business strategy.
Sure. And, you talked about a few different brands. Maybe just to give the audience, I think people will be interested. Can you talk about, just rattle off some of the names that you currently work with or stock in the store?
Sure. With apologies, because I'll always forget one or two brands, and then I'll hear from those guys later. So from a traditional sense, we carry Stromer, we carry High Bike, we carry Diamondback, we carry iZip and Rally. We also carry Benno. These are the type of brands that you normally find in a bicycle store. For direct to consumer, we carry Sondors, we carry Super 73, we carry Aventon, Magnum, Admotor, Revy Bikes, and I'm certain I'm forgetting a couple other brands along the way. I apologize in advance. Those are the ones that comes to my mind. that we have in the store and we stock.
Sure. And just my input here, for those who are new to electric bikes, perhaps watching this, that is a ton of different brands. I'm not aware of any other place in the US where you could go to a place and ride such a wide variety of bikes, or even see them in person. And again, that is, of course, one of the challenges when you're looking to purchase one of these bikes online. A number of the brands that he just mentioned are online only, or perhaps are working on their kind of different types of distribution models. But so that's a big key here that I just want to highlight.
So keep in mind, with the way bicycles availability, the challenges that are out there right now, if you go look at my Super 73, I only have the RX model in stock.
Sure.
And I have orders for the S2 and the R and the ZX, but I have to wait my turn. So chances are when the S2 arrives, I may not have the RX. Right. Same thing with Sondors. I have the MXS right now, and Fold XS is on its way, but I do not have the Rockstar, the Mad Mods, and LX for several more months. And chances are when they arrive, I will not have the MXS. So sometimes availability is very restricted. So we have to, in order for us to have bicycles on the floor and have a diversity in products, we have to have this many brands just so we can have a full house full of bikes.
Sure. And then talking a little bit more into kind of how the business is evolving, maybe you can talk about some of the growth and
Sure.
some of the staff and in your new warehouse, it sounds like.
Sure. So when I bought the business, it came, there was only one employee that stayed with the old business, and I appreciated that. And so it was two of us, and it was a very small operations, and you have to restart everything and rebrand everything. So in summer times, 2 summers now, we grow this past up to 2 weeks ago, we had 10 full-time employees plus 5 part-timers. And I'm proud of the part-time program we have. These are high school kids or college-bound kids that been with us 2 summers now. And they do a tremendous job. I'm proud of what these young men and women, what they do. And then they learn something new. They improve their customer service skills, and they go back to school. And I'm hoping that we will see them next summer. The 10 employee, the full-time employees, these are, some are bicycle retail professionals, and some have a love for electric bikes, but they have never worked in an electric bike store. So we work on the model that it allows them to grow, to learn. Everyone that works in our stores, we watch your YouTube videos and other YouTube videos. We test ride every bike that we get, and there are sometimes I buy bicycles that may never end up in our store, but they will go through our warehouse and we all get to play with it, and then we decide, is that a bike we want or not? Yesterday we received our first, I think it's pronounced Saran, and I haven't even played with it yet. They're assembling it this afternoon, so I'll check it out this weekend. Are we going to get into what I consider electric motorcycles? I'm not sure. But the only way to do it is I got to buy one of these, play with it, and then we can decide what is our best approach. So that's how we are operating from a staffing perspective.
Right. And then so you have the retail presence, right? And now you're expanding into the warehouse. So can you talk a little bit about how that plays into kind of your growth more recently, I guess?
Sure. So last year when we started with the small store, when I bought the business, I immediately wanted it to move. So we moved into a 3,000 square foot space in a very high-end shopping district here in Denver. This is called Cherry Creek area. And it did great for our business. It put us on the map, but it had a challenge. We don't have a lot of storage space. We don't have a big dock for shipping, receiving. So when we started receiving 2 and 4 bikes, not a problem. But once one day 48 bikes showed up, that was a problem. I mean, what do we do? So I started looking at different models, and it was clear that we had to do things differently. So in December of 2020, I acquired 6,000 square feet of a space in a warehouse. And we have built the warehouse. The warehouse has it fueled our growth this year. It really has enabled our growth. So what we do is all the bikes boxes are shipped to the warehouse. Shipping and receiving is there. Assembly is there. Our 80% of our service is done at the warehouse. 20% is done at the store. So if you show up at the store with a flat tire or just a derailleur adjustment, we do it here. And we can do this very quickly. We can get you back on the trail very quickly. But if you come in and you have a dead motor or you have a battery that needs to be rebuilt, or you have a bicycle that it could take us 3 to 4 weeks to acquire the parts, that bike goes to the warehouse. We do the assembly. Once the bikes are ready, we bring them back to the store. But very soon, we will start having customers pick up bicycles from the warehouse. So we don't have to constantly transporting them. In early 2022, we're going to open up the service center for all bikes. So the customers can take their bikes directly to the warehouse. And that becomes our service center. This becomes our showroom where you can come in, test ride the bikes, touch, feel. And if you decide to buy, we want to be able to give you multiple options. You could pick up a bike from the store and we replenish that bike here, or you can go to the warehouse and pick up the bike there, or you can we can have the bike delivered to you to your home or your office, or we can ship the bike to you if you happen to be out of state. The warehouse is also the foundation of our e-commerce that will be introduced early 2022, so we could provide bicycles nationally. And we're looking at partnering with other bicycle stores and mobile service centers to be able to create a network of service providers in major cities. So if you buy a bike from us, we can identify where you can go for service if you don't live in Denver.
Sure. And maybe we can talk a little bit about the typical consumer that you see, and also how many people that you've served to date, because in my mind, a lot of people see those online prices, which are for a lot of people very enticing, but then perhaps they go to their local whatever shop that has Specialized, Trek, any of those big brands, and they get a little bit of sticker shock. So I think, that's one of the things that is very interesting, because there's people who really want kind of, that full service. They want the bike assembled. They want everything to go. And then obviously with the after purchase support as well. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
So our business model is a little bit different. When we started, I said, we're not going to turn anyone away. But reality hits, especially with COVID and availability and parts and so forth. If you have purchased a bike from us, we will absolutely support you any way we can. No questions asked. If you didn't buy the bike from us, but it's a well-known brand where I can go get parts from them, we will absolutely support you. We don't sell Rad Power bikes, but we support Rad Power bikes. We support Juice bikes. And we're developing a good relationship. The general manager from Zugo called me several weeks ago. They have a customer in Denver that needs help, and they referred him to us. And they're sending us the parts. We're going to take care of their customer. But it also initiated a conversation. Do we have an opportunity to carry their brand in our store? So this has been a very beneficial for both sides. However, in recent months, I have discovered a series of bicycles that were purchased either 4, 5, 6 years ago from brands online that are no longer in business, or they were purchased from sellers on Amazon and eBay. And once they bring the bikes to me, I realize, unfortunately, there's nothing I can do for them. The parts aren't available. We're not familiar with the motor. I've never heard of this particular brand of motor. I don't even know what to do with it. Even if you bring me a bike that the company's out of business, as long as it has a Fang fat tire motor, I know I can get that motor from 20 different sources I can replace that motor. I can rebuild your battery. I even know if I change your controller, I can change your display. I can get you back going. But if you bring me a motor that I've never heard of, I don't even know where to begin. And that controller and the display, it's all unique. And the challenge that it creates is if you bring me a bike that's, let's say, it's 5 years old and it's worth $300, and you ask me to fix it, and I give you an estimate of, let's say, 800, is that bike worth fixing? And that becomes a question for you. In some cases, we have offered those consumers a trade-in value for that bike. It's not much. It could be $150, $200 to give us the bike. The trade-in value is applicable toward any bike in a store, but we will now use their bikes for parts. I'm sure you've heard the challenges with finding parts these days. Good luck finding a pair of hydraulic brakes these days.
Yeah.
Or mechanical levers. People crashed their bike. They broke a mechanical lever on one side, and I can't get it anywhere. So I go through my warehouse and I find the parts on a parts bike, and we'll get the consumer back on the road that way. So we do our best to support everyone, but there are some bikes that when they come in, unfortunately, there's not much I can do for them.
Yeah. And I think this is a good point to reiterate why it is so important to buy from a brand that, unless you know what you're getting into, buy from a brand that has a track record, that has been in business. Look at their website, see how old the parts they're selling. Do they still sell replacement batteries? Can you get a replacement controller? All those things are going to help keeping you on your bike longer should you need service. And I mean, what you just said is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, I saw a bike here a few weeks ago that the controller and the motor were connected through one cable, and there was no disconnect. And there was a problem with the motor, and the gentleman said, well, just disconnect it and take a look at it. And I said, yeah, but you realize I have to cut your cable, then later on splice it, rebuild it, but I don't even know what this motor is. So there are other challenges that comes in. And when I inquired how long you've had the bike, turned out that he had bought something on Amazon for literally $450, and he received it. It worked for a few months, and then it stopped working. And unfortunately, there was nothing I could do for him. Replacing a motor and a controller and a display, he might as well just go buy a new bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do see those on regular basis.
So you alluded a little bit to parts. So let's talk about current conditions, price increases, I don't know, tariffs if you want to talk about it as well. But what do you see from your perspective?
So I see, frankly, I don't care if it's the tariff, if it's the availability of the parts, or if it's the shipping challenges. At the end of the day, I do know it's costing manufacturers higher prices in order to land a bicycle in the United States. I know this. I've talked to enough of them. I know what they're going through. I do know that a container being shipped from China a year ago was costing between $2,000 to $3,000. Now it costs $30,000. Here's the reality. If a manufacturer has the bikes built, ready to go, and doesn't want to pay the $30,000, their bikes will sit in a dock somewhere in China, and they will collect dust. And after 3-4 months of their bikes not being shipped and customers being angry at them, whether they're dealers or whether they're consumers, they have no choice. They will pay the money. And not all the money is going to the shipping companies. Sometimes they have to pay a fee to the people that run the docks to process their bikes to be able to put their container on a ship to ship it. I'm also aware that sometimes when ships arrive in Long Beach, they stay on the water for weeks before they can dock and offload their bikes. Well, the shipping companies are just like airlines, are just like taxis, whatever you want to call it. they want their ships to be going back and forth transporting products. When that ship sits idle outside Los Angeles for 3 weeks, they're not making any money. So their shipping cost is going up. So they're charging back to their customers and so forth. So, and then you've got the tariff to deal with. So when you look at it from that perspective, a bicycle that used to cost $18.99 retail online and suddenly is $24.99 or even higher, it is not because people are taking advantage of the demand and they're gouging customers. Cost has gone up substantially. At the same time, I'm one of them. I want instant gratification. When I put my credit card down, I want to be able to take the bike home from the store or receive it by FedEx or UPS within 3 to 5 days. When I'm told that pay for something, but you're going to wait 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, that creates more challenges. Some of these manufacturers have to pay upfront in order to get production done quicker, pay higher prices to ship, to land them in the US, and then they have to sell them at a higher price to consumers or dealers. And as a result, the dealers have to sell them at a higher price. So I just see this price increase as a state of affair right now, whether you say it's because of COVID, whether you say it's because of product unavailability, increased demand, this is the reality we deal with. Having 10 to 12 different brands in our store at all time gives us a little bit of cushion to be able to provide diversity in products. So when you come into our store, you're looking at 80 bicycles to choose from, not 4. And that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, huge difference being able to come into a store, knowing what's in stock. I mean, that's just a far better customer experience than going on a website, seeing that, half or more of the models from one particular brand aren't shipping anytime soon. And I mean, this has been felt across every brand. And you talked about some of the shipping delays. I mean, some of these companies are obviously putting in padding to estimate when consumers are going to get them, but even sometimes, that isn't enough. And I've personally noticed price increases from, many of the name brand. The most recent one I noticed was Aventon increasing prices on September 1st. We have a Aventon Adventure coming that I'm going to be reviewing. So I've definitely seen price increases, particularly I feel like the last, even 4-5 months has been a lot more. And I
don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I think you're going to see more price increases before the end of the year.
Yeah.
I don't think some companies have done multiple price increases. Some of them, they're trying to do small price increases so they're less noticeable. And some are giving you a bigger price increase. They're holding it out, but they are taking place. And I don't see the market conditions changing for another 12 months. The demand will continue to grow. Supply chain is still challenged. And I think manufacturing has caught up, but the shipping logistics is still behind. And I see this type of demand to continue. One can hope prices would stabilize next year. I don't think they're going down, but that's my opinion. And hopefully I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, it seems like the trend has been continuing up and up. So,
but I will say this though, the price, a lot of people complain about the price increases, but I think the price increases have a benefit. And the benefit is this. If before I was buying an $18.99 bike, or maybe a $9.99 bike, think of it that way, a $999 bike, 500-watt folding bike with a 48-volt battery, put the credit card down, I was happy. Mechanical brakes were good enough. The basic turny derailleur is good enough. Suddenly I'm paying $18.99 for that same bike, or $21.99 or $24.99. I'm going to shop around a little bit more carefully, and I'm going to expect better quality build for my money.
Sure.
I think what is going to see happen is a lot of manufacturers' qualities have to be improved in order to justify the higher prices. And as a result, may be a situation where some of these manufacturers will say, if we're selling higher dollar bikes, why not sell better quality bikes to justify the right price, but sell less bikes? And as a result of that, I'm hoping we will see improvement in quality as a result of price increases.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
I mean, I know one brand, the new Sondors Rockstar now is priced $33.99 online plus $100 or $150 shipping. Now you're $34.99 for a full suspension bike from Sondors.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm spending that kind of money, is that the only choice available? At $19.99 or $18.99, it would have been a bargain. But at $34.99, I'm going to shop around.
Yeah.
So I may be able to find a better quality bike, or Sondors would shift to a higher end components to justify that price.
Sure. Yeah.
So let's see what happens there.
Yeah, that will be interesting. Speaking of, you mentioned Sondors, and I know, or I'm pretty sure you were one of the first places in the U.S. to receive, I think, the Rockstar and the LX. Yeah. But I'm curious, maybe not just Sondors, but is there anything else like exciting as you're, talking to either like new brands that you're going to be carrying? I know you talked about the Sir Ron kind of evaluating the non-e-bikes, testing it out. But like, is there anything else that you're kind of seeing exciting from your perspective?
I would say the excitement is yet to come. I think the trend has been, let's keep building bigger bikes, heavier bikes that can go faster, more powerful, and longer range. But I do hear this from a lot of my customers. They come in and the first question they ask is, how heavy is this bike? And some of those fat bikes are pushing 75, 80 pounds.
Yeah.
And to some people, that's a lot of weight, especially if you have to lift it to put it on a rack, or if you're just not used to handling an 80-pound bike. Yes, it's lighter than a motorcycle, but it's definitely not your 32-pound mountain bike that you used to ride. So what I think you're going to see is there will be more companies introducing lighter weight bikes. Not everybody needs a 60-mile battery range. Think of it that way. Mm-hmm. I enjoy going on adventure rides, so I look for a battery that 20 amp, 48 volt or 52 volt 20 amp, so I can cover 70, 80 miles in a day. But most people that buy e-bikes, they want to be able to ride 10 to 25 miles tops per ride. Do they really need a 20 amp battery? A battery that weighs 12 pounds by itself? Yeah. Do they really need a mid-drive, Bafang Ultra mid-drive that produces as much as 1,500 watts and 160 newton meter of torque? Maybe suddenly that 500 watt or 750 watt mid-drive with a torque sensor that weighs 4 pounds lighter is not such a bad idea. We live in Colorado, so heck, I burned my motor on Mount Evans, and I like to do Pikes Peak. So yeah, I do need the higher torque motors. But for majority of our consumers in the United States, if you live in Florida, do you really need something that's 160 newton meter of torque? It's flat.
Yeah.
If you live alongside the beach, coastal areas, how much climbing are you going to be doing? This is no different. Do you really need a car with a V8, or do you need a car with a 4-cylinder engine that's gas efficient that will get you from point A to point B? So I think we're going to see some of these manufacturers start introducing bicycles with smaller motors, smaller batteries, lighter weight, to give consumers what the consumers are asking for. And by the way, people like the people in your audience and the people that I like to ride with, we're all power hungry and we look for those characteristics. But majority of the consumers that walk into my store are shopping for their first e-bike, and probably the only e-bike. They don't want the 80-pound bicycle. They don't want the high step bike with the big fat tires. They actually want the 2.2-inch wide tires, a step-through design, more comfortable seating positions. And to them, when I tell them that this bike is capable of having a 70-mile range, they look at me like, why? I don't need that. So I think that's a transformation that we're going to see in the next year or so.
Yeah, and I think, you talked about weight, but I just think that is something that is often overlooked by people purchasing bikes. I get emails all the time, people perhaps recently retired, and I say, whatever bike, you're looking at buying, just keep in mind how heavy some of these electric bikes can be, because that will be the biggest disappointment. It's not going to be the motor, right? It's not going to be some of these other things. If you can't even ride it comfortably, it's not only dangerous, but perhaps then you have to resell it. And I see it in Facebook groups, and I that's just something that I feel like people don't talk enough about. So I'm glad you brought it up. And as far as, motors as well, of course, there's so many people I also run the Rad Owners Forum, and there's so many people that want to soup up their Rad power bike, which is totally fine. But that is a small percentage of the people that own the bikes. I mean, I personally, I like speed as much as anyone else, but we're riding around with our child on our Rad wagon.
That's right.
We don't need to be going that fast. And the stock Rad motors are perfectly capable of doing the hills in our area. So, just because a motor is more powerful, doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be the better, electric bike for you. So
yeah, you're spot on. I mean, I see the same thing. Someone ordered a Rad power bike or a Sondors or a Juice bike. The bike arrived, and the couple quickly discovered that it's too big for them, or they're too heavy for them. They can't put it on a rack. It's a challenge for them. And that's when they have to either send it back if it's still under their warranty, which that is another challenge. Now they have to bring it to me to say, can you box this?
Right.
Which it costs them money, or they try to sell it on Craigslist, on Facebook Marketplace. Then they walk into my store and they say, do you have a lightweight bike? And then I have to educate them that 50 pounds is a lightweight bike unless you're spending $9,000.
Absolutely.
So what we do in that case is, I really like what a Specialized has done. I've talked to them numerous times about it, and hopefully one day we'll carry a Specialized in our stores. The Specialized is the first company that introduced, at least the one that I know of, introduced a series of super light bikes. Half the motor, half the battery, focuses on the weight. And they were really targeting traditional cyclists, but it has created an opportunity for them. When somebody walks into my store and says, I'm looking for something that weighs 35 pounds, I immediately take them to the monitor and I show them the Specialized website. Then I tell them to go down to Bike Source, down 4 miles away from us. It's a great store. Go talk to such and such. They will take care of you. My lightest bike in a store, unless you're buying these thin single speed bikes from Ride One Up, the Roadster, I believe.
Yep.
That's my 34-pound bike. But the person that came in here, the lightest bike I have is 50 pounds. I'm hoping to be able to offer a 34-pound step-through bike, is 350 watt motor, a small battery that's only good for 25 miles, but offer it at 35 pounds, 38 pounds. But it needs to have the characteristics of a comfortable ride for that particular consumer that wants to be able to ride comfortably in an upright seating position, comfortable seat, comfortable grips, but not to have a haul a 65-pound bike.
Sure.
Hopefully I'll have that next year.
Yeah, that makes sense. Before I kind of turn it over and see if there's anything else that you wanted to cover, I'm just curious, how do you see being I know you don't want to call yourself a bike shop, but for lack of a better term, a bike showroom, how do you see kind of the the industry evolving as it relates to people being able to test out bikes like across the U.S. Do you have any idea of, is it models very much similar to you that you think people are just going to inherently have to gravitate towards because they need to cater to people who are looking for more different electric bike brands? Just kind of curious what you think.
I think we have to evolve. In our case, we have to evolve because we want to stay relevant. We don't want to go down another brick and mortar that closes shops after 5 years.
Yeah.
I have no choice. I have to evolve. Operating out of a warehouse is a natural progression. However, I would like to have a showroom. I want my store to truly be a showroom that has 30 plus models in it that you can come in, you can test ride, we can answer any questions you may have, and you can complete your transaction right at the showroom. But then our warehouse is our fulfillment center. You could pick up the bike here. We will have it here for you same day or next day. You can go pick it up from the warehouse immediately, or we can deliver it to you to your home address or your office, or in some cases, we can ship it to you based on your needs. I think you're going to see more stores like us following that model. That's the only way we can continue to grow and be effective at what we do. That model also allows someone like us to create 2 or 3 satellite stores here in Denver Metro, being supported by one warehouse fulfillment center centrally located. It also allows us to simply put more smaller showrooms in other markets and utilize the regional warehouses to deliver. This is no different than what Amazon did. Amazon started strictly being online, and they were supporting everyone through their fulfillment center, but now they have stores that can support their consumers. If you look at Tesla and Polestar, electric car companies, yeah, you can go to their showroom and touch the car, sit in it, answer any questions. They can even schedule a test ride for you out of that location, but you don't take your car back to the mall for service. You go to a service center, and they will deliver the car to you wherever you want it to be delivered. In a smaller scale, that's the model that we will be going to. I don't think I want to strictly be a direct-to-consumer brand with online services. I like the idea of having a showroom where I get to meet my consumers, I get to hear from them, and we can provide higher level service, but we have to rely on that infrastructure to be effective at it.
Sure, that makes sense. Great. Well, is there anything else that you kind of wanted to share with my audience?
I say keep riding and keep promoting the e-bikes movement to your friends, colleagues, and I think the more people discover these, is better for everybody. I'm proud of the fact that in 18 months, we have put in close to 1,700 people on electric bikes. That's 1,700 people that are using electric bikes for recreation, for transportation, for therapy, you name it. I'm proud of that. And so continue doing that. I think that's good for the environment, it's good for the society, and it's much better for traffic, and it makes everybody feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Houshmand, for your time. I have to give you a ton of credit for kind of proving out this model to sell electric bikes. I don't see anyone else doing it. So, props to you and what you've created. You. And I wish you a lot of success in the future. So
thank you very much, Ryan. Hopefully we get to talk a year from now and we can tell what happened. It's been an adventure so far.
Yeah, that would be great. All right. Well, have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.